Hi, welcome to episode 1 of the RD Roadmap, the journey to eating disorder expertise. My name is Jill Sechi, registered dietitian.
My name is Mateus Milhomens, registered dietitian.
Well, our first episode is titled The Journey, and we wanted to have this as our first title because it is a journey to feeling like you're competent and perhaps an expert in eating disorder treatment as a registered dietitian. And if you're a therapist listening, of course, we hope some of this material here is supportive for you and your journey as well. So who are we? We start with that piece first. I think it's important to introduce ourselves. I'm Jill. I'm a dietitian. I've been a dietitian for almost 30 years, and I have an extensive work history just in terms of what I've done. I thought I would just talk about a little bit of what led me to this place that I'm currently in. And I'll let Mateus, of course, talk about his journey, which is a little different than mine. I am what we may call a seasoned dietitian and also seasoned RD, EDRD, as they say. But my journey started in the basics, I think. I started in clinical nutrition, worked in ICUs, worked in an outpatient practice for the Methodist Hospital in Houston, providing nutrition counseling for individuals on a very low calorie diet, and was very much a diet dietitian at that point, but happened to land into a private practice that I didn't really understand or know too much, that it was eating disorder focused, and was definitely swamped with learning and understanding eating disorders in that point. And that's where I really felt my passion landed and developed, was in that field of work. So I began to open my own private practice, and also worked with a partial hospitalization program and IOP. But generally, now I've been in private practice for a long time, have run a group practice, et cetera. And my main focus has been eating disorders for probably the last, let's just say 15 years, rounded up or down. I can't remember exactly, but a good half of my career at this point. I love this work. It has been just overwhelming at times. It's been rewarding at times, but it's definitely something I know I need to be in and know that this is my calling. But I have to say that my experience in other areas really informed a lot of my work. And even if I was a dietitian or, clinical dietitian in the ICUs, that all informed me. And so I think we'll talk about some of that. If you're coming into the field, how your other experiences can greatly impact your work and in the eating disorder field as well. So enough about me. I'll let Mateus kind of talk about his journey a little bit, but I just wanted to let you know a little bit about myself.
Yeah. So my name is Mateus. I've been a dietitian for almost 10 years now. Like Joe, I started out more with a clinical focus. I'm actually dietitian here in the United States and in Brazil as well. That's where I started. And my program in Brazil was very clinical. I've been, running up and down hospitals since my third semester of nutrition school. Then moved to the US, continued working in a clinical / outpatient setting, more with preventative care, prenatal. I became a lactation consultant in that process, helping new moms with their breastfeeding journey, and also taking care of the transition to solids and the beginning of that relationship with food. Became a dietitian in the United States, so became a dietitian again. And
Well,
I
that's how we met each
started
other.
feeling, yeah, I reached out to Jill out of nowhere because I was actually thinking about quitting dietetics because I was having a hard time with the diet culture, and I was like, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be prescribing restrictive diets to people. And when I was doing my second round of dietetic internships, actually when I was doing my master's, I had a course on eating disorders, and I was like, wait, there are non-diet approaches. There's an anti-diet movement within the dietetics field. Like what that got me curious. And during my internship, I saw that she was a specialist in the Houston area, and I reached out and she did a little interview with me. I was in the tiniest office inside St. Luke's, like a little
I think you were in
closet.
scrubs too. You had scrubs on.
Yeah. In a hospital floor. So
Uh-huh.
been working on the with eating disorders for about 2 years now. Got a lot of coaching, a lot of learning from Jill. So I'm really happy to be here and share a little bit about my expertise, the journey, and all that.
Huh. So as you can tell, we all have our different areas of how we got here. But I think you as well really enjoy this work as well. And of course, you're on this journey of this podcast with me. So hopefully, as much as we find it giving in nature and rewarding in nature, I'm hoping that you find it helpful in your journey as well. Well, I wanted to talk about our why. Why are we doing this? And I'll talk about my why. I think Mateus will again talk about his. And then we'll go into kind of the nuts and bolts of this whole process and what to expect, those types of things. So, my why is that I really found being in the field because of my own experience that I had a lot of lack of training. Like I said, I just went into a private practice that treated eating disorders without any knowledge base, except maybe a chapter in college that I learned a little bit about. No idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt incompetent. I felt overwhelmed. And so I just know my nature. I love to learn and I love a challenge. And so I remember my first module, it was like a 12 or 15-hour CEU binder of paper. Now everything's online, I think, and just learned about eating disorders and how many calories to do and, CBT basics and those types of things. So it just was not a pleasant way of learning in a very challenging and overwhelming population to serve. And I really felt at times I was doing a huge injustice. So as I became more competent and more confident in my work, my group practice was growing. And I also noticed that many of my clinicians were in the same boat. And so I really felt like, hey, in order to have an effective group practice, I really need to provide adequate training. So I had lots of learning to do, and even in terms of group practice development, et cetera. But I developed a residency, which is a little bit what Mateus alluded to, and created that to have intensive learning so that you're not just in a supervision session once a week, you're actually seeing me in work and I'm observing your work and you're learning kind of the things that I needed to know in order to really adequately treat eating disorders. And there's excellent information out there and trainings, et cetera, from IADAPT to other clinicians, obviously in the field. But I'm super passionate about that piece of it, the training piece. And I literally have seen so many clinicians in the practice flourish into really competent clinicians in the field. So some may not be with me now, but some are definitely, I know they're solid dietitians and doing great work. And even just with Mateus seeing his work in a shorter period of time, it took me years to get to that point. But I felt like, you having some of that structure and that support was really helpful in your development, but I'll let you talk about more about it. But that's my why. That's why I'm doing this podcast is I want to have kind of a way to finish off my career to some extent is that training piece of it so that
Ooh, don't say that.
hey, I'm a lot older than you, but I do have some years to go. I promise you, I'm not necessarily at the end of my career, but I definitely want to end it that way where, I'm training and supporting and providing that knowledge. So that's my why, but what's your why, Mateus? Why do you want to do this podcast and all this?
I think that it follows it's a similar reasoning, but it's different because of where I am in my career in the eating disorder field. So I came in, super like happy, when I was doing the internship, and it was a very rude awakening to observe people in the practice working with clients and navigating all the emotions and seeing more of because I was like into diet, yes, I can like learn something new, a different way to practice. And then there's the entire mental side of it that I was like, I don't know about this. So I joined Jill with the residency, and I remember one of the first clients that I was observing got really dysregulated and was like screaming. And I was sitting in the corner on my iPad just like doodling because I was in a panic, like, oh my gosh, this person's gonna hang up. Like, what's going on? And um to see Jill navigating that and um in a very professional, very compassionate way, and actually being able to let the client express the anger, the emotions, and kind of calm back down to a place of being able to work with. I was just mystified. I was like, okay, I'm in the right place because I do need to figure out, because at that point someone started screaming at me. I was just like, oh, the internet dropped. I'm so sorry. There's a tornado. I need to go. So uh I've been there in that panic, of the beginning of my journey with that work. And after 2 years of really intense training with Jill, I'm in a completely different space, and I'm now able to sit with a lot more. So I feel like I became a lot more resilient as a clinician, and just far more knowledgeable. So I think it's something that's missing in the field. The field of dietetics is hard to find coaching, to find help, to find guidance after you do the internship. So just wanted to share and help people starting to.
Yeah, it's I think the other thing I thought was going to be helpful is that you have someone who's been in the field for a while, and then for you, Mateus, being less in the haven't had as much experience, and being able to kind of ground me, because sometimes I forget how overwhelming this process can be. Not that I don't have plenty to learn, and I don't get overwhelmed. I definitely get overwhelmed myself, but I forget how much material and information and kind of skill work you have to have. So I thought it would be good to have that playoff of both someone who, can give some wisdom out there, et cetera, but then you can also look at the nuts and bolts of individuals that maybe are just starting and kind of, hey, like it's not that easy type of thing. It sounds like Jill might be explaining it as something easy, but it's actually a lot harder. And this is my experience and why I felt that way, et cetera. So, and of course, I'll put out my experiences there as well, because I have definitely made many mistakes and struggled many times for sure. So welcome to the RD Roadmap, Journey to Eating Disorder Expertise. I want to let you know a little bit of how this will be organized. The first 15 minutes will be on YouTube so that you get to see us, get to know us a little bit more personally, see our backgrounds of cows. And I think you have a horse in your background, not sure. We may not always be in the same place, but we just want you to feel like there's two people behind the voices you hear. So we'll have video content as well, but that'll be 15 minutes on YouTube. The other one will be on podcast. So whatever platform that you like to listen to, that'll be also 15 minutes. Then we're going to have a paywall. So the back end part of that will be 30 to 45 minutes. Really good, juicy content. We hope that whatever we're talking about in the first 15 minutes, you're like, I've got to learn more and hear more about this. So that's what we're doing that for. We really feel like it's going to be investment in your time, your energy, and your career in this journey you're on. So we want to give you a lot of good content. We will have vignettes. We will have resources. We'll have topical information. We'll be troubleshooting. We'll have didactical things that we can talk about, from someone who's seasoned to someone who is new, a little bit newer in the field, and their perspective as well. And this being Mateus, his perspective. So that will be the last 30 to 45 minutes of the topic on the podcast. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that. We will be giving that first one or two of them free, probably 45 minutes worth, to see if that's a good fit for you, feel like you like it, those types of things. So expect that in the next few episodes, but hopefully you'll join us for longer and upcoming podcast episodes in the paywall back end part. So thanks so much for joining in and hearing our first episode. I want you to do really good work and feel competent and confident in the field of eating disorders. So definitely want you to receive that education and support that you deserve and need in this field. And so that's why I'm here for sure. So thanks so much for joining our podcast.
Yeah, and if you're in the middle of the panic and the struggle like I was before, you're not alone. And with knowledge and training, it does get better. So that's what we're here for.
All right. See you next time.